Welcome to the Champion Blueprint Podcast, where mindset meets mission.
We're diving into what it really takes to lead, win, and live with purpose.
From NFL locker rooms to boardrooms, it's all about discipline, core values, and the habits that build champions.
Whether you're leveling up in business, life, or leadership, this is your playbook.
Champion your mindset.
Champion your purpose.
Let's go.
Welcome once again. We are back better than ever.
Yes, sir.
The champ to my left, Gary Brackett. I'm George
get
Rogers. We are excited. Thank you so much for joining us here again, Champion Blueprint, the podcast. Incredible stuff that's going on, Gary. We are now knocking at the door, number 31 episode total.
I love it.
Having some incredible times. And today, we are going to draft right into this, no pun intended. But, last week the draft was here in Pittsburgh, and we had the opportunity to kind of watch some of the good things. Day one, shout out first off, as a Buckeye and as a Rutgers alum.
Absolutely.
You want to shout out the Big Ten, man. The Big Ten is doing some great things. 10 draft picks out of the Big Ten happened in the first round, leading all conferences. There was always this SEC thing going on for 15, 20 years. And the tide, no pun intended, Bama fans, but the tide is turning. But shout out to IU, Mr. Mendoza, becoming the first Heisman, also the second first-round draft pick out of Indiana University. So shout out to all the Hoosier fans out there.
Yeah, local town too, right? Cooper?
Oh, yeah. Shout out Lawrence North. Kid,
Yeah.
Amari Cooper getting drafted
Absolutely.
by the
First
New York
round.
Jets. Big playmaker going to the big town, the big A. No pressure. No pressure over there, but he's doing this thing. Shout out to the Lawrence North. Lawrence North's put out some dogs. Man. They got two right now they're pretty good. So football this fall is gonna be great for high school.
Absolutely.
I know your young studs getting in there.
Hey, let's go
as a freshman and getting over in Carmel. So shout out to all the football programs. I'm gonna be. I didn't do a lot of football the last couple of years. I've gotten out of high school, but I got to give my nephew Jermaine's over at Warren.
Yeah,
doing some great things, and so got a lot of good football coming up, especially in the top class of Indiana football, and so we're excited about that, producing a lot of good quality, not just in the NFL, but also, the most important thing, kids getting their scholarships and getting good education in college, being able to have those eyes here in Indiana.
And it's interesting because I'm excited about the topic today, and I know you're going to call out who all we're speaking to, in regards to the success, but I think just thinking of the football and you taking it down to the collegiate and also high school level, with the new territory that we're in with the NIL, this topic could also be applicable, in regards to success and finances to the high school and college kids, right? So everyone that's in that high pressure situation dealing with success, this is going to be relevant for you.
Yeah, I mean, we try to get our podcast, and we said it from day one, like this podcast is really for everybody that's in some type of ship. Yeah, whether it's relationship, leadership, businessship, mentorship, right? It's for those that are young and youth, but really today we're going to be talking to all of those, and I want this message to be relevant for all people. Yeah. But we're talking about not just the high level C-suites, top Fortune 500 companies, but we're talking about also those who are in leadership positions, whether it's emerging leaders and in that position where you're grinding, the fathers and mothers that are taking care of the kids, sometimes on one income. You got success, and success looks different, Gary, for everybody. We can look at success, and from a lot of people as a fan, we can say, man, Gary's successful. We saw him on TV, Super Bowl, all these different things, and how that looks. But we can also look at success and say, listen, really, for me, what really pivoted my change in success was my father said, George, all it takes to be successful in life is to find a need and meet it, right? And it changed my perspective because anybody can be successful. I can see trash on the side of the road. If there's a need there for me to be able to go up there and pick up the trash, right? Then you're there. So success looks different. And I want everybody, before we talk about this, I want you to be grateful for the opportunities that you have and see that success doesn't necessarily mean you got to have a certain title, or from a monetary standpoint, you got to have 6 figures or 7 figures, right? If you're making $70,000 or $80,000, there's success in that. For those people who are still like fresh out of college and you get climbing out of that, and you're making 50, 60, 70,000, like whatever that window is where you are, I want you to be able to find that success. And so while we say this is for everybody, we understand that sometimes it's like, how does this relate to me? And it's our job to bring that clarity. But today, this clarity around success is really not just success itself. What happens after you reach success? How do you stabilize that? How do you provide consistency for long term? And what does it look like when you're successful, but also look at burnout, right?
Absolutely.
And what success actually covers up in that process.
Yeah, and I think you talked about, the differences between success and stability.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people looking at highlight reel and thinking that's how everyone lived their life. And even, when you're talking about the draft, when you saw those guys get drafted and you look at the cameras in their homes and their living rooms were crowded with people, right? But you know what happens when you actually make it to camp?
Yeah.
And you just had a bad day and you sprained your ankle.
Ain't nobody home.
That crowd is not there.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, success is great while you're there. But more importantly, to maintain it, you got to have discipline.
Yeah.
You got to have stability. You got to be consistent. You got to be able to deal with the ebbs and flows of life and still show up and perform.
Yeah. And I think there's a struggle. We've seen even this year, young men and women losing their lives because of what success and the door of success has brought them.
Right.
But nobody talks about the burnout of success. Nobody talks about the depression of what it's like to be successful and or being that person that is deemed successful in your family and the pressure of having to provide and continuously provide and open doors, not just for yourself, but for those people that were in your living room that was clapping and championing you home. But where were they or where are they when you're by yourself and you're dealing with an injury and you're dealing with, somebody, trying to take your position, right? That pressure of really stand on task. And so that's where we're going to dive in. Let's dive into that. If we want to call that segment one there, Gary, let's dive into like success can make burnout look normal, right? And sometimes their success masks some of those burnouts and success masks some of the insecurities. Talk a little bit about that, because the struggle of like once you are successful, we talked and we opened up with the draft. These kids are being drafted, these quarterbacks and receivers. Shout out Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame getting drafted. Top 3, the running back. Some things that haven't happened in a while since Saquon Barkley, I believe. These young men in this draft and even in the workplace, young men and women are striving to grow. We talked about the growth and the price. A few episodes ago of the price of that pay raise. Yeah. What happens when you finally get to that success, but yet you're still struggling with everything that nobody else sees? It's what people don't see that's even, that weight bearing, that's the pressure. How do you handle that while being deemed successful, but also carrying the weight of reality? Yeah. And your reality at times.
I just visualizing the picture of the tip of the iceberg. And most people in life, they just see the tip.
Yeah.
But don't see what's underneath of the surface of the water and how wide that base has to be to carry the weight. Right?
That's good.
So for you just to see that tip. And I think so many people prepare for that tip, for that moment of success, but they overlook some of those things that's required on the base to keep that tip stable.
Yeah.
And I think, there's a lot of unspoken expectations. There's a lot of unspoken communications where you just assume people think you should act in a certain type of way. And I remember, you're doing all these NFL seminars and people come in and say, you got to find you a person to say no. You got to find you like a bad guy. And I don't think that's true. I don't think you need to find, I think you need to become the person that's realistic and have those uncomfortable conversations. And the sooner you do that, I think the better you're going to be.
Yeah.
Because for me, success was like, it was great when I was a people pleaser and I'm just giving out money and I'm not asking anything and everyone, my phone's ringing off the hook. But then when I start saying no, people stop calling.
Yeah.
And I think just as the reality of the situation, but that's okay. And it's just like knowing what your purpose is and what your mission is. And what got you here is not going to get you there.
Yeah.
So you got to continue to focus and put in the work to make sure not only that you become someone of success, but you're able to have that year over year and build that longevity.
We often celebrate the output, but we rarely check in and evaluate sustainnability.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I learned and something that a friend of ours, Ryan McCarty, he always says, and it's ingrained in my head, is that the moment we as leaders, and I'm talking to all leaders, right? The moment we as leaders stop checking in with our people, they eventually check out, right? And that starts not just with our team, but that happens with us. we get to a point where we're so successful that we don't check in with ourselves, and eventually we check out.
Yeah.
And that check out can look like exhaustion. That check out can look like burnout. That check out can look like the pressure and the weight and that what it means to be sustainable in that lifestyle catches up with us. And so there's three things that I want to pinpoint, because how we as leaders evaluate exhaustion. Like, how do we evaluate what it looks like, and to not necessarily just evaluate it, but also normalize it. Like, it's okay, Gary, for you to be putting in work. It's okay for you to be putting in 40, 50, 60 hours. But what happens when you're at that wall, right? Yeah. That breaking point, the tip of the iceberg, where everybody sees the cool thing, but they don't see the work that's going in, right? What happens when you, as the tree of the family, that's holding everything together, people don't realize, and I just learned this. Did you know, Gary, that a tree grows from both ends? Right? And so we don't even look like a tree is growing from both ends. First, in the soil, the tree grows in the roots. And so the roots are just the evidence of the fruit. Right? And so we see the trees, we see the fruit of the trees, we see everything above. The reality is that it grows downward first, and then it replicates outward. Right? And so what happens as we're growing here, people don't see what happens in the dirt. They don't see that the roots got to break through the soil and the foundation. And the moment then it breaks through the earth, right, the ground, that's what we see. And so how do we stand firm, but also realize in this season that exhaustion is okay, and normalizing those things and being able to say, listen, as successful as you are, you need to take a couple of days off.
I started believing in this, and it's like, rest with the same intensity that you work.
Say that again.
You got to learn to rest with the same intensity that you work. And the challenge for people that are high performance and their identities are tied to that performance, rest seems like they're being unsuccessful. Rest seems like
that's a battle with a lot of successful people. They think that what got them there has to keep them there, and really, what you're saying, Gary, is that you got to be able to pause and take care of yourself so that you can bring that same energy. And then also realize that as we get older, we cannot bring that same energy.
No
right?
doubt.
And that's okay, but that's where we build a team around us and that support.
Perfect example right now is LeBron James. He is not the 19, 20-year-old phenomenal athlete he was, right? Or he's not the Miami, with LeBron James, where he could just do whatever, right? He is mentally like head and shoulders over the rest of the competition, and he knows what's required in terms to get his team to be successful. And he knows it's not on his back no more, his shoulders. Get out my way. I'll do it by myself. It's him doing that mentally. And I think as you grow, when I say what gets you there is not going to get you there, I'm not talking about more of the same, hard work. I'm talking about what needs to get you to the other side is rest. Is finding your purpose. Is being around people and having meaningful conversations. Those type of things humanize yourself and really just make you realize that what the craziest moment in my life was winning the Super Bowl, and then the next morning waking up and like water was still wet. And I still had to put my pants on one leg at a time. Like I thought water was gonna be like taste like champagne, like Ace of Spades, right? I thought I was just magically put my pants on. You know what I'm saying?
You're a champ now.
Yeah, I'm a champ, but that's not what it is. And then I realized, it was the journey, right? And it was what I had to do to get me here. Those things that I need to continue to do.
So when I think about this, burnout doesn't always look like a collapse. Burnout isn't you tired, mentally fatigued all the time. Sometimes it looks like inconsistent performance, right? That's going down, or maybe consistent performance, but the margin is very thin on that area. So you got to be aware as you're proceeding, as you're being successful. You got to be aware, as I said earlier, check in with yourself and take care of yourself.
No question.
Because the other aspect of that is like the emotional volatility of leadership and the toll that it can take as leaders. Like, you don't look emotional. You don't look emotional, but sometimes your decisions are like, man, what's going on with George? What's going on? Like, something's different, right? And so you can look successful, but sometimes your decision makings are impacted by that. So That's the second part of it when it comes to being successful is like, how do you protect the emotional aspect of who you are as a leader? Because if you're leading other people, if you're that successful person, right, how do you sustain that emotional awareness and also that emotional clarity, but also emotional health, right? And when I say emotional health, you can look at it from like the sensitivity, right? Things that used to not bother you anymore are suddenly irritating the fire out of you, right? And so like being able to check those warning signs, it's the car. Every winter, it's like Christmas lights on the dashboard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not like they just showed up during Christmas holiday. Yeah. They've been there since the spring and summer. But it's like, oh, it's cool. All it is X, Y, Z. But one thing obviously leads to another. When you don't take care of the one thing, it can lead to another problem.
No question.
An issue. And suddenly, who you are as a stable, emotional person, people don't want to be around anymore. People, you're losing the people that cared about you the most, right? That the room of people on the draft nights looks different because success has gotten there. And if it gets to your head the wrong way, your emotions change. And we're not just talking about from a negative standpoint. Sometimes your emotions go to a different place, right? You become something that you once were not because the stage became bigger and you wanted to be part of that stage or the perception of that stage. And so how do you, Gary, what are some keys when it comes to, one, reactive, right? When we talk about emotional things, some examples is reactive decisions, and we talked about this before, under pressure, right? How do you handle those things? We talk about inconsistent leadership standards, right? Things begin to change. What you used to not tolerate, now you're starting to tolerate from a different position and leading based on the mood versus the principle.
Right. It's funny, our first conversation was about, setting up your mission and your values and the standards that you should have over your life. Yeah. And that should be carried forward in your business. And I think it's the same thing. I just read a book, Hold Your Nuts, and nuts was non-negotiable on multiple terms. It's like you got to have principles about yourself. And the good people are consistent with maintaining those principles and those boundaries and the ability to say no without fear of rejection or fear of people not doing that. So emotionally, I think you have to slow down sometimes in order to speed up. Yeah. And you have to take care of yourself and make sure when those lights are on. Now, like as a grown man, when my lights go on, I'm going to get it checked. Yeah. Right? You ain't going to get me with your engine is blown because you were driving around. Gas is gone. I ain't getting hit with one of those bills no more because I know the outcome if you don't check on that light. Yeah, I know. In my mind, I could just say, "Oh, something little," and then this is the big thing. We say, "Oh, I don't have the time." I make the time. Like, what do you mean you don't have the time? Like, you get to do it. You get to decide what to do with your time. So I think when those in your life, in your business, in your relationships, in your health, when you feel like a light is on, like take care of it. Yeah, like nothing should be more pressing than that. Yeah. And I think that's what I started to do, and it gives me a lot of peace of mind knowing that, hey, that dash is clean. So now if something comes up, it's a new situation that I couldn't prepare for. So I'm good with now having that and having to deal with coming up with some solutions. Yeah.
When I think about the instability of leadership, especially when success is one way and you have that leader that you look up to or that leader that's been impactful in your life, and then suddenly they're going through these different things in their personal life or even in the workplace, and their leadership changes. One of the things I realize is that stable leadership, like emotional stability, is such a key because people perform better when they know what they can count on from a leader, right? And then what that leader brings to the team. You think about the impact of even psychological safety, where I can trust my leadership. I can depend and count on my leader because there's stability there and there's accountability. You referenced our first episode with making sure we have and sustain the value aspect of it, like who you are and how you tie those values to everyday work, right? Yeah. If you're going to show up and you're going to say, hey, one of our values is that we're going to show that we care. It's not just showing that we care to our clients. It's how do we show that we care to our people internally, but also most importantly, Gary, how do we show that we care for ourselves? Yeah, no question. Right? Being able to pause. You referenced the book, The Hold Your Nuts, and like the importance of all these concepts and things that we know, right, is to how do we take care of ourselves because of what that impacts. I think about a healthy leader not only brings psychological safety, but just the impact that it brings on having a sense of belonging, like I belong here. My leader gives me that impact. When I talk about, the psychological definition of belonging, it means that I feel respected, accepted, and appreciated by my direct leader. Yeah. Right? You show that through stability. right? And having that emotional awareness. And so the impact and the importance, and the whole point of this is to encourage you as a leader today to really take care of yourself, like to be able to look at the man in the mirror and the woman in the mirror, to be able to take care of those things, because there's a ripple effect, not just from an emotional standpoint, but there's a ripple effect that impacts the workplace culture. There's an impact that impacts your house if you got the emotional instability at home, and what that does in the house place. And so it impacts a lot of things, and it impacts, most importantly, the trust. Like, can I count on you or depend on you in those moments? And so having those things, when I think about emotional stability, it brings great results. Successful leaders have that. Stable leadership, there's consistency and clarity amongst those things. And so, ask yourself, if you find yourself in a successful situation, you got people believing in you, you got to be able to ask yourself two things, I believe. Am I reacting or am I responding? Right? If you find yourself where you feel like you're masking burnout, or you're dealing with, the emotional volatility of leadership, you got to be able to ask yourself in situations, is this a response or is this a reaction? And the second thing I believe you got to do is this decision aligned with my values, as you talked about, Gary, or is it my emotions? Right? And so to wrap this up, let's give some systems. If we were to build some stability systems, I'm going to shout out three things, and I want you to kind of pinpoint it. I'll just say them real quick. Number one is going to be routines. Number two, we're going to talk about boundaries. And number three, accountability. Right? Those are the three things I believe when it comes to building stability systems. We got to have a routine. We got to have some boundaries. We got to have accountability to be able to do that. Talk a little bit, Gary, because stability isn't a personality trait to me. It's a system. Yeah, you got to create those things. And so these core pillars, right? Number one, routines. As a man who has routines, waking up in the morning still at your young age, you're working out still. You got a young king that's going in, and so he's working out, getting ready for high school football. What's the importance of routine, both not just in the sports life, but just in life in general, to be able to have that consistency?
Man, I think because of my routine, it gives me confidence, because I know I'll put in the work. Yeah. And I know it's not a fluke. And I know I have staying power because I'm doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah. And I think it's this thing that one of my coaches used to say, and I hated it when he said it at the time, but it's so true for your life, and especially with your routine, is like, don't get bored doing the right thing. Yeah. Like, if you eat egg whites and turkey bacon and you work out 45 minutes and that's working, you seeing the success, the results that you want. If you prep before a meeting and you read something and that works because now your sales numbers are better than everyone else's because of the time you put in, like, don't get bored doing the right thing, right? Just keep on fine tuning those systems to get the results that you're after.
Yeah. When I think about the routine, for me, my routine, especially in the mornings, is to protect my energy. And I think that's the most important thing, is that you got to be able to protect your energy before you spend it. Right. And if you're not spending it, who's taking it from you? And so you got to be able to protect your energy. And that starts from like morning mental preparation and habits in that aspect. The second thing is, after you have your routines, boundaries. Yeah. Right? Being able to create boundaries. And I think about high performance, and the impact of that is like, this is where sometimes high performers struggle the most. You brought up the draft and all those people. I literally said on night one, I looked at a friend of mine, Isaac, who's over my house, and I said, listen, and our young, my kid Dexter and his buddy on the basketball team, AJ, was there, and I said, listen, you see all those people on this TV? 98% of them got to go. Yeah, you got to be able to put up boundaries, because some people are going to want your money, some people just want to spend your money, and some people just want to see your money. You got to be careful of people that just want to see. Yeah, and so creating those boundaries. Talk a little bit. What's your thought on the importance of boundaries?
Yeah, we talked earlier about finding that person that can say no, right? And you just have to become that person, and just understand, like, you have to realize your yeses and nos are currency, the currency to your energy.
Yeah,
bank.
That's good.
So every yes I give, I'm gonna deplete some of my energy. So, and I think being strategic with your no's and why you're doing certain things, it's not an emotional decision. Like, no, I can't do that. I have practice later. I have this going on. Like, and I think that's just wise. And you telling people and get to a point also where just no is a complete answer.
Yeah. Period. Like, explanation mark. No question mark.
It is what it is. You don't got to explain yourself. Yep. And the problem is, and what you got to realize, especially to the young people that found some money or found some success, if it's financial, is that people were doing just fine before you got some money. Yep. Or they weren't doing just fine, but they were still making it out. Yep. So all of a sudden, you don't become their permanent solution on when things get tough.
Right.
And realizing, like, you don't got to bail people out of their situation. So just stay true to yourself. Do what you can. But anytime you feel that feeling, or you feeling like you're doing too much or ain't easy with yourself, just stop and start putting up those walls, putting up those boundaries.
Yeah. Saying no is a sustainability strategy.
Yeah.
And that's the key. Accountability.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about this, like, again, talking about checking in with yourself, checking in with your people, as you're growing, as you're becoming more successful, I think it's more important to surround yourself with one or two people who can make sure they're checking in on you, but also checking you.
Yeah.
Like Gary, this ain't who you are. Don't let XYZ make you something that you're not. Talk a little bit about having that accountability, where you need somebody to kind of punch you in your chest and knock the wind out of you every once in a while. Like, hey.
So one, my brother, because he's just so humble, Grant, back home, and he always gonna say true to myself and call me out if I'm mistelling the story or something like that, right? But the two, one of my best friends, Dwayne Thompson, shout out Wiggs. No matter where we're at, we're vacation together. You talking your stuff, but he'll bring you back to reality real quick, man. But you gotta have those people in your life, because sometimes you think, you're too big for your britches. And even I can remember Coach Dungy say, never get too high, never get too low. Mm-hmm. And I think, being accountable just realizes, like, yeah, you experience success, and that's great, and you put in the work, and your routines are great. You got your boundaries set up, but then being accountable to yourself. Yeah. Like, I deserve to keep myself focused on this track, because the real, like, hack or the real flex isn't being successful, is maintaining that success.
Yeah, sustainability is the key.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, I you said something a while back that stuck with me, is that you don't rise to the level of your success. You really fall to the level of your system. We were talking about a lot of business and how the business, you find stability based on the systems that you have in your organization. So you don't rise to the level of your success. You really fall. You level out to the level of your systems. Like, that's your identity. And so implementing those things, having people in your life that can check in on you, but also, like, hey, we got to check out of this situation, and really make sure that, one, you not just are humble, but you stay humbled. In that sense. And so, but the other side of that is sometimes you need to raise that temperature. And I think that's like having people like you in my life, like you come over and tell me about the speaking engagements, and you're traveling and doing it, like it ignites the fire in me. Like, oh man, I gotta get going. Like I'm like, man, the success, like he's killing it. It's out there. So I think being around other people that are successful as well, it like heightens that. And it helps you constantly raise, that level of systems that you set that thermostat to. Yeah. So as we close up here today, I want to give you just kind of 4 closing notes to wrap up everything. Number 1, success without stability is temporary, right? Success without stability is temporary. If you can't sustain it, then it's really kind of one of those things where it's not going to be around too much longer. To be able to sustain those things, you got to have some accountability, you got to have some boundaries, you got to have some routines within your life. It's not really true success if it's not something that you're able to sustain. Number 2, your internal condition drives your external consistencies. Your internal condition drives your external. We talk about the emotional stability, but also the emotional toll that it takes on a leader to be able to sustain those things. A leader of your house, a leader of your marriage, relationships, leader of your business, whatever it may be that you're in and that ship is, you got to be able to have internal stability. And so having those core things, again, having routines, having the boundaries, having those accountability in all aspects. Number 3, systems create stability. We talked about that, not just motivation, but it creates stability. And so being able to have those routines, again, boundaries is not, it's a non-negotiable. You got to be able to have that. Number 4, your team feels what you don't fix. Your team feels what you don't fix. You got to be able to, what you try to ignore and cover up is going to be eventually exposed. And so you got to be able to expose those things, because instability at the top multiplies success of the organization. It hurts it or it rises it. And so you got to be able to take care of the mess. Don't be sweeping stuff under the carpet. Take care of the house. Gary, my friend, my brother.
Absolutely.
Champ, it's good. Once again, listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this lovely podcast. We appreciate everything you do, all the support that you give us. If you have not, please like, share, subscribe. Share this with somebody that may need it. Share with your brother, your mother, somebody. of a different color.
Yes, sir.
I don't know where that came from, but so be it. But as always, everything that we do here is obviously for you to help you out. We want you to be able to champion your mindset so that you can champion your purpose. This is Champion Blueprint Podcast. George Rogers, the champ himself, Gary Brackett. Let's go.
Let's go.